Hello everyone, Kaoz here, and welcome to another old school Runescape video. And I finally have some gameplay for you guys. I know some of you have been asking for that, as today I am going to be grinding a little bit in the league, just so I can take care of something that, has to do with some points that I need to get. While I do that, I am also going to talk about the league itself. I am going to talk about relics, some areas, some tasks and points. And this is both to give you kind of an idea of what you would want to look for in the previous league if you want to play either just, the early levels, if you want to max, if you want to reach the late game. And this, not that it's really going to happen, but if a JMod comes across this video, this would be a nice suggestion from a top player. As you can see, I am both maxed and I have 58,500 points. Right now, I believe I am in the top 600 for the league point ranking. And by my estimations, I think I'm going to be ending at around top 400 with some of the points that I want to get. So this is kind of like a background of my account. I've been, going pretty hard at this, and I am going to talk about this as I, like I said, grind some other things that I need for some extra points. So how is this video going to work out? I am going to talk, really quickly about the relics. For those, I am going to say what they do, my personal winner and loser for each tier, which one I chose, and then why. And that's basically going to be the same format for the areas. And then I'm just going to ramble about, the tasks and the points. Very quick thing to note, this is going to be both an unscripted video and a ramble video, so if that is your cup of tea as you do something else in the game, you can listen to me, put me as like some background noise, and that would be really good. Other than that, let's go. So let's go to the Waterbirth Island dungeon as I grind some of the hides that I need to get in order for me to get a full spine. Alright, so with this one, I am also going to have some graphics provided by Jagex's post from November 20th of this year, of course, about what people chose the most for relics as well as areas. So, let's begin. Alright. This is a mouthful. Let's see if I don't screw this one up. Okay, first off, we have the relics. In Tier 1, we have Endless Harvest, Production Master, and Skilling Prodigy. Endless Harvest is going to give you double the resources, as well as banking them automatically for you. The Production Master is going to make you process all of your resources at once, and the Skilling Prodigy is going to increase your level by 12 for all of your non-combat skills, which sounds really good. My very personal opinion, which one is the winner and which one the loser? I'm going to talk about the loser first. In my very personal opinion, in this tier, the worst one is the is the Skilling Prodigy. Now, this is coming from someone whose initial opinion and I guess aim with the game mode is to reach max level. So this one is not really going to be helpful in the in the late game. Especially with all of the points that require 25 million. Experience. For that one, I went with the, and by the way, sorry, my voice is starting to fail me, this recording. For that one, I went for the Endless Harvest, because overall, I think it is going to help you in every single situation. I guess Skilling Prodigy would be really useful for people who just want to experience, the early game and, do things as quickly as they can. It was, good for content creators, streamers, YouTubers, but honestly, for late game, I think this one was the best choice, especially for gathering all of your resources. The Production Mastery one was honestly maybe not that great, because if you don't have the proper resources, then obviously it was going to be a little bit awkward to, gather and bank everything you need, and then, finish them super quickly. So, in my very personal opinion, this one was obviously the winner, and honestly, from the graphic that you are seeing on screen right now, this one was actually the tier 1 was actually the most balanced choice of all of them. So I guess this one is where things, went fairly smoothly. All right, for the second tier, this one is no match, right? I'm going to talk about the obvious winner, and pretty much everyone, I guess, almost 80% of people went for Last Recall. Let me make this a little bit clear. There was no wrong option in Tier 2, but what I always tell people when discussing, relics is, okay, for Tier 2, if someone came up to you and said, okay, I am going to give you free money, I am going to give you either $100? I'm going to give you $120. Or do you want $1,000? Well, obviously, the answer would be 1,000. So this is exactly what happened with Last Recall. It is just so overpowered that it completely overshadows the other two relics, right? As you can see, Fairy's Flight was chosen, I believe, less than, 5%? And then Eternal Jeweler was, kind of up there, but still, it was pretty much nothing. The reason for this is because whenever you reach the late game, Eternal Jeweler is going to be super irrelevant because you are going to be able to create your own teleporting jewelry, so, there's really no reason for that. As well as whenever you get to the late game again, you have, for example, if you go to your POH, you have your own fairy ring, and that is basically going to make the Fairy's Flight completely irrelevant. So this one... Again, my voice, goddammit. So this one was the obvious winner of this tier, and my personal suggestion for this one, why is this Dagonoth attacking me? My very personal suggestion for this one is that if they are going to introduce something similar to this, make it so it at least has a cooldown. Even though, I chose it and I love it, but even though it is super overpowered, I think a cooldown of maybe even 30, 40, even 60 seconds, I already have one of these, fuck. Even 60 seconds of cooldown is going to make it a little bit more balanced and also make it so Eternal Jeweler or Fairy's Flight are able to activate without you actually having the items themselves. I think that would have been a great choice. Next one, I'm going to talk about a tier 3. Now, this one is the first one, and I believe the only one that pretty much ties in with which areas you got, and for this one there's actually no wrong choice, right? So here's the thing, I'm going to talk about the other options, and then I'm going to, talk about the one I chose, which is Fluid Strikes. So when I say that this is dependent on which region you chose, is that I really don't see why anyone would pick the ranging relic without picking Taranwin, or however you want to pronounce it, because you don't have the blowpipe. And I don't see people choosing the mage relic without the desert, because then that way you don't have ancient magics, which honestly, from watching some videos and other content, it seemed so overpowered that it was like, it really wanted, I really wanted to pick mage because of that, so, but because I didn't have the desert and that was not in my plan, then obviously I was like, nah. So, this one, there was no wrong choice, and and it's completely dependent on which region you chose because of your, I guess, primary way of attacking things. Whenever you have Fluid Strikes, it is just more common because you have a whip that can, be gotten from the main area, which is Mistalin, and obviously there was really no way, to go wrong about the melee relic or, whatever. I think I'm just rambling about this one at this point. There's no clear winner or loser here, but as you can see from the graphic, a lot of people chose Fluid Strikes. I guess the less popular one was Magic. So, yeah, that's about number 4. Number 3, sorry. Number 4, there were only 2 choices in the form of Treasure Seeker and Unnatural Selection. Now, this is honestly the one I have the least opinions about because both of them are just really good, especially if you want to go for points, right? As you can see, I believe 95% of people went for Unnatural Selection because you can pick your own Slayer tasks, as well as getting guaranteed clue scrolls from superior creatures, which spawn at, 1 in 20 or 1 in 25, I believe. So what happened with those is that it kind of contradicts itself, right? If you have a superior that can spawn 1 in 20, and if they have a 100% chance of granting you a clue scroll that they drop, but then in the other relic you have, monsters that drop clue scrolls drop it at a rate of 1, I believe it was also 1 in 20, then it's, but they also stack, right? I believe that was kind of, maybe not, maybe not irrelevant, but in my personal opinion, Unnatural Selection offered so much more in terms of benefits. I think a clear, maybe not advantage, but a really, really good suggestion that a lot of people were making in both Reddit and Twitter is that Treasure Seeker would have been so much better if the clue scrolls were only designated to your chosen areas, right? So for example, if you pick, what was the most common one? Kandarin, Asgarnia, and Mauritania. So if you have a clue scroll, make it so it only limits the steps to your, to those areas, right? That way, it was kind of like a much more difficult decision in the way of like, okay, so I'm going to get so many points from the, from the clue scrolls because there were so many of them, and I think that would have been a very nice buff to make it, just a little bit less, skewed and unbalanced. For the fifth one, this one was very, how do I say this? This one was very hard for me to choose because this one is the only one I regret, right? I wanted to go for Botanist. Here, the clear loser, in my personal opinion, is Infernal Gathering, because that is only going to help you for, what is it? You have mining, smithing, fishing, cooking, wood cutting, and fire making. So whenever you're wearing the, the Infernal tools, what's going to happen is that it is going to give you experience in just those, right? But if you choose the Equilibrium Relic, it is just going to give you so much experience in every single one of the skills, even if it's just slightly slower. The reason why I regret not going Botanist is because, the reason why I regret not going Botanist is because I was getting into the PVM, stuff, a part of the game, and I was like, really wanting to keep my my levels, boosted all the way, just so it's not like that bad. And at some point, Herblore and farming were kind of like a struggle, but then in the end, I pulled off some miracle and, I got 25 mil. So in the very end, I don't regret Equilibrium at this point, but then at some point I just wanted Botanist, and I think there is no suggestion here because even the moderator said that what they plan on doing is that if they reintroduce this relic, they are going to make it so it doesn't work for combat stats, because this one was supposed to be a like a skilling, like a skilling relic. So that wasn't really going to help you for, for combat, but because all of your combat skills, stayed maxed and, potted up, I guess, that kind of made Botanist, a little bit overpowered, as you can see from the graphs. Lastly, we're going to talk about Relic tier number 6. Which one is attacking me? There we go. For this one, as you can see from the graph, is also going to be super unbalanced just in terms of one, which is going to be Exploding Strikes. So Draining Strikes, Exploding Attacks, and Weapon Specialist. The other two, which were Draining Strikes and Weapon Specialist, were really balanced, as you can see. And the reason for me picking Weapon Specialist is because I planned on going to Ceridom and God Wars, or, the boss, Siliana, whatever. And since I have the SGS, this is also a way to keep both your HP and your prayer topped off. Maybe not at all times, but, it just kept you really healthy. But if you went for Draining Strikes, that I believe that is, a little bit more helpful, especially with, every single combat relic that you have. Since you attack faster, you do more damage, and then you heal more and more. But because I was going to go for a Weapon Specialist as well as the SGS, I was like, this one is way better. And if you have a BGS, that also will help you, a ton in bossing and getting all of your drops. I really don't know what's happening with my voice today. Anyway, so that is pretty much it about the relics and my personal suggestions for each and every one of those. When I was editing this video, I noticed that I completely forgot to talk about Exploding Strikes, and my only opinion about this relic is that this is only for sweaty players who wanted to go for 200 mil in all combats whenever they train in places such as the Monkey Madness 2 dungeon, but that's pretty much it. Let's continue. Now, I'm going to talk about the areas, and I really don't have many things to mention about these, other than my, personal suggestions for, maybe someone who would like to play this in the future, and this is what I have to say about the areas. So first off, right away, you kind of have to aim for the content that you want to do, right? So in my very personal opinion, the areas I picked were not picked specifically because I wanted to do them. It was because I picked the ones... Ooh, I need this one. It was because I picked the ones that I did not want to do, right? The very first one is that Mauritania was like, okay, I can do Barrows and I can do Grotesque Guardians. But if I pick, oh, and by the way, you also have the Slayer Tower, which was, you know, super, I guess, super overpowered. Maybe not overpowered, but you just have a lot of content. But if you go for Mauritania, you specifically have to go for Theater of Blood to do a lot of points. I do not like Theater of Blood. I do not like group activities. So what's going to happen is that I did not go for Mauritania because honestly, I just did not want to do Theater of Blood. The same for Taranwin, right? I have Zulra, which in my main account I never did, and we have a lot of Zulra tasks. You have kill Zulra, get a blowpipe, get a Serpentine Helm, and all of those. I don't really like Zolcano, so that was like kind of, you know, cringe. And what is the other one? I did not want the desert specifically. Oh, I finished my Slayer task, nice. I did not want, what do you call it? I did not want the desert because there were not a lot of points in that one. I did not want the wilderness because there's a lot of bossing and, you know, players can also attack you a whole ton. Let's see, where's the Dagannoth? Here we go. And so that's the reason why I discarded, is that how you say it? I discarded Mauritania, Taranwin, the wilderness, and the desert. So what happened is that, okay, since I don't want to go for those four, I am going to pick Asgarnia, Kandarin, and Fremennik. Fremennik obviously because I think it had a lot of really good solo content. So you have the Dagannoth Kings, and then you also have Vorkath, as well as, you know, the Slayer Cave. You have Lunar Isle, you have, you know, Miscellanea, Keldegrim, you know, so much solo content. But the other ones were either group content, like Mauritania, a lot of bossing that I never did, which is Taranwin and Wilderness, and then the desert, which didn't really have a ton of points, right? So that is the reasoning behind my personal, I guess, choices in the, you know, in the areas. And one thing that I would like to suggest is that maybe in the future, if the point of this obviously was to, you know, play the game in ways that has never been played before. So for example, I have never done a melee fire cape because, you know, ranging is just so much better, but then this way I am forced to do it, right? So you have to force players to do something different, and I think the best way to do it in the next league, it would be to give them, you know, so for example, give us a choice, right? Okay, so you have to go either, you know, just grab from both, go for the most popular relics, and then you can only pick either Kandarin or Asgarnia, right? So make it such a big choice in the, you know, in the build or the path of your account, that those area choices are going to be so much more important. And, you know, you basically have to think, okay, what outweighs what content, right? So for example, between Kandarin and Asgarnia, it pretty much depends, because in Kandarin, you have so much more points, you have so much more content, you have, you know, at the really like quickly top of my head, if that's even how you say it, you have Kraken, the demonic gorillas, and then in Asgarnia, you obviously have the God Wars dungeon, right? So that is just the trade-off that you would want to force players, I guess, to make a decision on what they want to do, and that would be way more interesting to see what people go for, right? Because here, as you can see from the graph, the obvious choice was Kandarin, Asgarnia, and then Mauritania, and then the other ones were so unpopular, I guess, that I guess for the next one, if Jagex is going to do something similar to this, it would be much more, it would be much more interesting to see what players choose. And yeah, finally, just a quick ramble about the tasks. I believe they were very, a lot of them are super grind heavy, like the bosses, for example. Killing 750 Vorkath was not exactly enjoyable. I think it would be way better to make it so you have different restrictions for Vorkath. I think what people, or what the Jagex mods are going to come up with the PVM diaries, is that they are going to force you to kill monsters in different ways. So for example, kill bandos without taking damage, kill this boss by just using magic. So I think it would have been way better, or, you know, it would be better for the next league if instead of grind heavy tasks like slay 1000 of this boss and slay 750 and whatever, there's even a task for that's the one I need. Nice. I finished it, and just in time. So yeah, I personally believe that it would be so much better to have skill-based tasks and not really grindy tasks, because honestly it kind of burned me off a little bit, you know, actually a lot, with Maul, Vorkath, and all of the God Wars dungeon bosses, so that would have been so much better in my very personal opinion. So, I told you guys this was going to be a grindy, not a grindy, a rambly video for my personal suggestions for the new league, maybe coming up next year, who knows? But yeah, if there's anything else that I would like to mention, why is this blocking my way? Is that this is only my opinion, and I am obviously kind of a sweaty player, but I think Jagex not only has to listen to, you know, the new players. So for example, they could potentially make surveys for people who played the league, but they did not want to stick around for whatever reason, right? I think the initial player base was like 270,000, and right now if you see the, you know, the worlds, obviously we are just like 2 weeks away from the ending. Pretty much all the league worlds are double-digit people, so maybe, I think another big suggestion that I have is that it would be better to make it shorter, so you have a way to tell people, okay, so these are your choices, these are your points, and you have less time to complete all of these, just so you can see people, you know, prioritizing other things, right? So yeah, that is my personal opinion about the leagues. So far, I have had so much fun, and yeah, I don't really have anything else to mention. But honestly, if you didn't play leagues, definitely try it next time, and yeah, you're not going to regret it. My next video is going to be, I believe, on the 30th, so only 2 days away from, you know, the end of 2020, and it's going to, you know, show you what I achieved in the league, because that is going to be for, like, I guess, personal reasons, because I want to remember what I did in this wonderful gaming mode, alright? Thank you guys very much for watching, see you in the next one, have a great day, and I'll see you then.